Oh, right. There we go. Alrighty. Welcome back to the Movie Well Marathon. Sorry, I'm Andrew.
I'm Mac.
Good stuff, good stuff. And we are working our way through our 80s marathon. We are on Red Dawn. Came out
Hmm.
1984. Directed by John Milius. Story by Kevin Reynolds. So I don't usually say that, but it's here, so I figured I'd mention it. Came out August 10th, 1984. Cast real quick. Patrick Swayze, Jennifer Grey as Tony, Charlie Sheen as Matt Eckert, C. Thomas as Robert, Leah Thompson as Erica, Powers Booth as Andy, and Darren Dalton as Daryl Jenkins, and then Brad Savage as Danny. Oh, and Doug Toby as Aardvark.
Yes.
I know they called him that.
Arturo Aardvark.
Yeah, he's credited here as Aardvark. And then a
Hmm.
bunch of the adults, but those are the kiddos that we're following in this movie. Lots of familiar '80s faces. I was like, hey, that's Ferris Bueller's
Hmm.
sister. Hey, that's Marty McFly's mom. So that was kind of fun. I have
Yeah.
never seen this movie. So this was a fun new one for me. I don't
Okay.
have the energy to be cheeky. Um, I'm a little mixed right now. I have some
That's
thoughts.
fair. Hmm.
Um, you've seen this before
Yeah,
though, right?
I have. And I
Okay.
feel like in terms of like the kind of qualifications for this 80s marathon, this might be a little bit on the outside, but I genuinely couldn't think of where else we would put this film.
Uh huh.
And it feels very 80s, like just from cast and costume
Sure.
and
No, no,
style
no.
a little
That's
bit, plus
yeah.
the overall like art, like the conflict of the film is very timely for like the 80s. So
Yes. Yes. Very,
there's mhm.
very cold,
So
Cold War.
there's
So
yes, yeah, for sure. So there was, I felt like it fit enough to sneak it in here. That said, I do feel like the tone of this, it's dark and it's dark fast and it stays dark
it's
pretty much the
it's
entire
a little
time.
darker than I knew the basics. Real quick, can you move your mic just a
Hmm.
tad closer, just a tad?
Yep, is that better?
Yes, just a little. Um,
Okay.
so I knew the basics. And I don't think it's misplaced in this marathon because like there's no rule about it just being '80s whimsy. Because like there's some there's adult themes in some of the movies that we'll see
For
later
sure.
for sure. So I take no issue there. And I've heard this is a classic, so I'm glad to have watched it. Um, some of it is unfortunately, I think, a little weirdly relevant, or not relevant, but strikes a nerve today, like
Uh-huh.
a tad. Um, and
I haven't stopped thinking about this movie once since I saw it when I
yeah,
was in middle school. Like
interesting.
it
Yeah,
just, I feel like it fundamentally changes the way you think about things.
yeah, I can
And
see that.
in a way that, well, maybe it did for my like my relatively
Ah,
young mind, right?
uh-huh.
The I like this is like, I mean, I don't want to get too much into it, but it basically is, it puts you in a country that's torn up by
Yeah.
war.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was something that happened to other people, not to Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched this and it brought it home in a way that nothing else ever has. And I think that that kind of went into the memory banks
Mm-hmm.
and restructured the way I think about things like war and conflict and what
Okay.
I would be willing to do in a situation like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, I think, like my overall rating for this is probably pretty close to it. If I'm being critical, 3 out of 5 stars. It's not
Mm-hmm.
actually that high, but I do think it's kind of singular in the impact that it has on
Mm.
maybe an American point of view.
I can see that. I had forgotten to consider the times to that extent because the idea of
Mm.
aggressive war torn stuff hitting home, I guess it's not something I really needed to learn. I have not lived through a
Mhm.
war. Um, but that is not an idea that's uncommon in the movies I've seen at this point, I guess.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but I can see why that would make it impactful because it's blunt. Um,
Hmm.
I because of the current situation that we are in, I couldn't help but feel a little, even though I knew this wasn't what the movie was doing. But when the people raining down from the skies are speaking Spanish, I was like, ah, oh, here we fucking go. Like, what
Sure.
racist asshole made this movie? I understand that's not what they're doing. I understand that's not what they're
Mm-mm.
doing. It's the Soviets, it's Cuba, Cold
Hmm.
War stuff carrying over. Like, I get it.
This is yeah,
I
this is
get it.
old world, not old world
Yes.
politics, but like,
Yes.
Cold War politics,
Yes.
and there were
100%.
government threats
Yes.
from
Yes.
neighboring nations that
Totally,
spoke Spanish, right?
totally there,
So,
totally there. It's
mhm.
just my gut reaction was like, oh, you son of a. I had to remind myself this is like a 50-year-old movie. This is almost a 60-year-old movie. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no. Almost 40 years. I did my math wrong. I'm sorry. I'm really bad at math. Anyway, all that to say,
20s and 20s, yeah,
yes, yes,
40s.
yes, yes. All that to say, uh, it took me a little bit to get into it because
Hmm.
at first I was thinking, so like, I guess props to the movie. We get right into it. We waste no time.
Really, like
We
it's like
get.
5 minutes, and they
Mhm.
are
Yep, we're
shooting
doing it,
kids. It's awful.
and yeah, and I would say for the most part, acting is really good. 80s teenagers, just
Okay,
whatever. I
I think
mean, it's on the
it's a
campier
little
side, but
big.
it's the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so
And
um,
nothing's more than you would normally find in
no,
a movie of this time, but it
I
definitely reads a bit campy now.
yeah, but it's definitely more on the serious side of things, like the greasers kind of were. Like, we're not even getting into the
Yeah.
humor of Breakfast Club, which deals with a bunch of serious stuff and a bunch
Hmm.
of adult ideas, but there's still comedy in that. Look, there's levity in this movie, but there's not like comedy. um
Yeah.
but it did take me a
There's no
second.
attempt to make it palatable, I don't think,
Yeah, no, I
right?
would agree.
It's
I would agree.
just yeah, and I
um
think there's some lacking in style, but that almost kind of drives home the point of like this is
mm,
just an experience, you know? I don't know. We'll get to all the details. I
yeah,
interrupted you. Keep
no, no,
going.
you're good. It took me a second because at first your words about John Wick echoed in my head a little bit of like, you want to talk about a man's movie? This group of high schoolers stop at a gas station in their truck. They grab a bunch of weapons and hunting knives and cans of beans. They're out there killing animals and drinking their blood, and then they're given two girls to protect. I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this is ridiculous. And then I swear someone, I don't know if this is more like what the reboot is like or if someone said this and I misunderstood. I then thought they were going to go and win. It's like, so this group of teenagers is
Mm-hmm.
gonna go take back over the town. Like, this is ridiculous. This is such a man's movie, and it has all that bit
Mm-hmm.
with those two, the brothers, their dad, and the whole like, no crying, don't you do it, and avenge me.
Mm-hmm.
Rah! So at first I was like, okay, what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
But it leans more into the whole like, this is an experience, and the girls are kicking ass as well, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. They actually
And
make the first kill, which I
yes,
always thought was
yes.
interesting.
So they're
Mm-hmm.
they're doing the work as well. It's all a team thing, and the no cry rule does not last, which I appreciate.
No, it doesn't.
Like, there
Mm-hmm.
there is not a macho message really. You could argue there is in the performances. It's still very campy, very very macho, but like, where, again, skipping to the end like we are wont to do, where it ends in the playground, which they talked about with
Mm-hmm.
their dad. Like, this, it was very sweet. Very, there's a poeticness to it. Not groundbreaking, but a lesser
Mm-hmm.
movie wouldn't even acknowledge something like that. And like, his words are so
Yeah.
sad. Like, I'm so tired. Like, I was in it. It reeled me in. I was in there. And I do enjoy. Like, I won't lie. I was like, this is such a man's movie. But once they started killing everyone, I was like, get it, fucking get it, tear those asses up. Like, oh yes, get them. So I was enjoying that, but then I did have to make a mental note of, this seems really easy for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not upset that they had success. I just I do think we lean out of this is an experience movie. This is a movie to
Mm-hmm.
make a point. This is a movie to hammer home what this perspective is like for soldiers, for an American audience that may not have experienced this, and leaned a little bit into, well, what if you were Rambo? Because
Right.
to start the movie with this class of war strategy, I was like, fucking bring it. One of these kids is gonna have a textbook. It's gonna be the art of war, and they're gonna apply
Mm-hmm.
that to this. Like, there's gonna be thought. We're gonna see the strategy. We're gonna see the plan. Didn't see any of that. Um, they just start digging holes and making spider traps and killing people, and they know when
I mean, I think
convoys are gonna
the
be around.
assumption
And
the assumption is that they paid attention, and also like there's a little bit of like the wave wanding. They're familiar with strategy because they've played football, which is kind
oh,
of like
is
saying
that
they're familiar. No,
okay?
which is kind of like saying they're familiar with strategy because they played chess. Like it's something that
Uh,
movies do that
okay.
we allow, even if it doesn't practically like a thing too much. But you can consider like nobody was necessarily sleeping in that teacher's class.
For
And he was
sure.
teaching them very directly about battle strategies, which is meant to be a bit of a commentary on what's actively happening while he's teaching that, but is also, I think, meant to be sort of like a explanation for why they're able to come up with a few effective plans before
Yeah.
things start going south.
I'm not super upset about it. I just feel like there's a lot
Hmm.
of this movie that is implied. And with
Oh
how
yes,
long it ended up
yes.
feeling, some of it could have been explicit. Like when they
There's
start
quite a bit of jumping around where you kind of have to put together pieces. And I honestly would say this starts at the very beginning
Mhm.
because you never really get a good rundown of all the characters' names. You just kind of
Yeah,
like
I was
have
struggling
to
with that.
figure it out.
Uh-huh.
And because there's so many of them, and because, and maybe this is just my eyes, but like the resolution is relatively low. So trying to keep track of like whose face is whose when they're all like half covered is
Yeah.
really tricky. They're also like trading coats around, so you
Yes,
can't
yes,
just
I
follow the
did.
coat
Yes. I
either.
had that a little bit too.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to keep track of who is who. Even after watching it several times, I still have a hard time being like, "Now that is the guy who, okay, got it." And sometimes you can see it in the performances and the scenes that they get. Like there's this one guy who starts, barely able to kill a deer, and then by the end, he's sort of like gung ho,
Mhm.
just enjoys killing. Hatred's building up in his heart, so much so that the professional soldier says, "You need to take a chill pill."
Mhm.
It's like there's clear directions and character arcs for I think all of our characters, but ultimately it can be kind of hard to track them as an audience member because the movie doesn't take a lot of time in being
Mhm.
like, and this person here whose name is blank is doing this, right? And you
Mhm.
kind of have to just like very much pick that up on the fly, and it can be quite challenging, I think.
A little bit for sure. And
Hmm.
yeah, I was thinking that, and then I was thinking as well. I was like, this is crazy that none of them have died, and then
Hmm.
they all die, but
Hmm.
it felt a little too, dare I say, uh structured. Like, it makes sense for them
Sure.
to die now. And yeah, they bring in the hunter guy or whatever, but like, I
Hmm.
was waiting for that food to be poison. That food wasn't shit.
Hmm.
There was nothing. If
Hmm.
at most it was bait to wait for the big
Yeah.
killer helicopters to come in, but like, that was quite the gamble. Like, with this rocky
Agreed. I
terrain and
would have
shit.
taken
Like,
that food and traveled for a bit before we
yeah,
sat down and ate it.
yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I was expecting her to blow up because I thought, oh, symmetry. She struck the first blow with a bomb. They're gonna take her out with a bomb. Like,
Mhm.
oh, symmetry. That was something as
Mhm.
well because like it's implied. I can believe every time they take out a group, they keep the weapons and they keep building their arsenal. Right on. I would love to
Mhm.
see that. Just to see them doing it, just so we know kind of what they have. But I can believe
Like
that.
maybe taking inventory at
Yeah,
some point just
sure,
to
sure.
see.
To because
Mhm.
like they unload that truck full of guns for the citizens of the town, and I know where they got those guns. That's not hard to connect those dots, but they throw a bomb into that tank before they've done anything, and so
Mhm.
I can't help but wonder, where did you guys get the stuff to make a bomb in the woods? Because none of
Mhm.
you seem like a chemistry geek, like just little things here and there. Um,
Mhm.
and so there were a couple of things like that throughout the movie where I just wish like all you gotta do is like add 10 seconds of something for that. 100%
Yeah,
sense. 100%
I
sense.
obviously couldn't tell you exactly what went wrong, but I do suspect that we ultimately are dealing with, and I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some shade. I think we're dealing with a bad director.
Oh.
I think the story manages to shine regardless through performances, just through the nature of what it is. Um, but there are several shots in this. Well, and maybe this has to do with limited film because I'm pretty sure this is shot on film, so that could be an element too here.
Mm.
But there are several shots in this that read like a first take where no one was really sure what they were supposed to be doing
Mm.
and they just kind of went with it either for time or for resources or because they just straight up didn't notice. I'm not really sure. There's one scene that's supposed to be a serious moment where Jed is sort of emphasizing to the rest of the boys that they can't go back. If they
Mm-hmm.
go back, they'll just get themselves killed or captured. And he is trying to make this very serious point. That's, he's like, your lives have irreversibly changed. Buckle down, and he keeps trying to find his coat pockets and he can't do it.
Oh my god.
If if you go back and watch that scene, it's all you'll see. He keeps reaching for his
Oh,
coat pockets
didn't
and he
catch
can't
that.
find them.
I got really
It's
distracted by the
really
fact that
bad.
they were fighting over the campfire and kept stepping over it. And I was
Yes,
like, you
there's
guys
that too.
need to
Hmm.
calm down. Like, so,
And again, in that same scene or some scenes around it, there's a lot of like the person who is speaking is not looking at the camera. Like their back is to the camera.
mm,
And while I think some of that works for like occasionally throw in bits of that just to like impress on the realism or like the sort of natural elements of the storytelling, that kind of speech should not be delivered from the back the entire time. So there's some certain things about this that feel kind of like a novice put together, or maybe that they ran out of time. There's some element of like first draftness that kind of
mm,
hangs about it. And I think a lot of it has to do with like, the occasional shots that don't feel very complete or practiced, or maybe just the fact that there's a lot of kind of jumping around where it's like we were doing this and now we're doing that and now we're doing that. And you as an audience member have to kind of tie together the events between those moments a little bit, some of which I think is effective because we don't really want a one-to-one storytelling version of this because it's supposed to cover a lot of time. We're supposed to get
mm-hmm,
the gist of how each phase goes for them,
mm-hmm,
but there's also an element of like, let's make sure we don't lose our audience in the development of what's happening with this group. Make sure we have some strategic visuals and lines that kind of clue us into changes as we go,
mm-hmm.
and there definitely could have been more of that, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I also, I can't help but wonder if this movie would have benefited from, I don't know, doubling down is the right because that's a lot, but just a tad more of the seriousness. Because like I
Mm,
mean, we're dealing with a lot, and that's all good and fine. But then we also have, well, we can just walk into town. Yeah, that's like
mhm,
that's fine. And yeah, the one guy gets caught. It's like, how many times have you guys gone into town? Like it's weird that you guys can just go
mhm,
into town and leave. Like I find that very hard to believe. Um, so and then I did find the conflict of dealing with what was it? Was it Daryl or was it Danny? No, Danny's the
mm,
brother. Is it Daryl who then has to swallow the tracking
mm.
device?
It's Danny who swallows the
Danny.
packet, or is
Oh,
it? Is it?
is it Derek? I don't know.
It's either Danny or Daryl. It's one of the
Daryl?
D
I
names
think it's
because
Daryl. I think
Jed
Danny.
and
Oh,
Matt are
Maddie is the
brothers.
brother. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mhm,
Well, one of the guys swallows the tracking device because they tortured him, and I'm mixed on this in a handful of
mhm,
ways. Because it's supposed to be a twist, and I get that, and it is. It hurts.
mhm,
I do have a little bit of like, oh no, not that guy. Like I didn't know at first who it was that had betrayed them.
mhm,
And I couldn't help but feel a little bit of like the what is now the modern day movie approach, which is we would have seen him go into town. It would have been implied that
Mm-hmm.
something happened, and that ruins the twist. Sure, I
Mm-hmm.
understand, but in some ways, it feels like it comes out of nowhere. Like you know what we're
Mm-hmm.
doing, like, and I can't remember unless he was the guy that was advocating they turn themselves in, which I don't think he was. I don't remember. See, I don't remember the
I don't
faces.
think so, because I'm pretty sure the guy who advocates for that is
Is he the one that goes
Robert
ham?
Morris, who is the mayor's son and the president, like class president or whatever.
Yeah,
And he ends up, I think he ends up dying maybe one of the first deaths.
I don't
I can't
remember.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but him betraying everyone. I don't know. I feel like that could have been the seeds for that could have been planted early. Maybe that's a commentary on war that I am not aware of, that I can't understand because it's not something I've experienced. But I
I think
do.
what that ends up boiling down to is they were like, and this is the tracker twist that we're gonna put in here real quick. Um, and while I definitely wouldn't change the fact that there is a tracker twist, I do agree that it kind of comes on suddenly and then is also dealt with pretty quickly. Um, like it feels like you would want maybe a lead up to the fact that they are being tracked
Hmm.
using a tracking device. Like
Hmm.
maybe show someone with the tracking device before the scene where they're using it to track them down, right?
Hmm.
They'll be like, this is our key to finding them. And we as audience members are like, what is that?
Yeah,
And then we see them using it, and then it kind of builds up to somebody's got a tracker in them. Who is it? How to get there? I kind of like that we don't see him go into town or the betrayal or like the interrogation or anything like that at all, because I do kind of like that it comes from the group's perspective and not the kids' perspective.
I see that. I see
Um,
that. It
mhm.
hurts more to get it
I
that way for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a sort of element of, like, you kinda just have to take him at his word, and he's not lying, but
Hmm.
there's I don't know, there's this is tangentially related. I'm reading The Crucible right now, and that's all about word of mouth and
Hmm.
accusations, and there's something about keeping the audience from witnessing the events and only letting the audience see people talk about the events that ends up putting them in very specifically in the other character's shoes, and
Hmm.
I like that about this scene.
I
I
see
am
that.
torn about the fallout of this scene,
Hmm.
though.
I do.
The whole, like, execution
Yeah.
scene.
No, just one quick note on that. 'Cause, like, you are right, but it is choosing a perspective of this like war
Mhm,
torn. It's like we don't see his perspective of like what do you do when you're caught and you're tortured in
mhm.
war? Like what kind of
I
decisions
don't
do you
think
make?
necessarily well, and that's where I start to critique the fallout, because I don't think the film necessarily condemns him for the situation. If they make him swallow it, the
Yeah.
only choice he really had was to go off on his own and die, or come back to the group and hope they could save him somehow
Well,
without telling
it
them.
kind of seems like he uses it because they ambush the bad
That's
guys
true.
and they take out most of them, but then
Mhm,
he doesn't own it. Like if you wanted to go
mhm,
back and make that plan and just be honest, like, hey, this is what's happening. Let's use this. Because that's what you
mhm,
did. Like, what did you expect to happen? He didn't
mhm,
sabotage anything. He doesn't shoot anyone in the leg. He
mhm.
doesn't not shoot the soldiers. Like he's there. He's fighting. I just I don't know. Again, it's there could be a whole layer of this that I don't understand because I don't understand real war. But as far as movie stuff goes, I feel like it's just missing a little bit. But then yeah, the execution bit, I'm
Mhm.
torn because I don't know what I would do in a situation like that if it's a friend, especially a friend I've fought with for like 3, 4 months.
Yeah.
But I worry.
Well, and oh, go ahead.
I was just like, I worry in a situation like this if I didn't die right away and I've lost loved ones, I'd be like whoever that is that has gone ham and just
Mhm,
the only thing that keeps you going is tearing down the villains in your home.
mhm.
And now he's become one because he
Yeah.
betrayed you.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that's actually done kind of excellently in this film is the way they explore killing and the impact of killing, you know? The characters the first time they kill, it's an accident. They've been caught by surprise by a group of 3 soldiers who are sightseeing. Um, then somebody drops an arrow, I think, and it kind of escalates from there. The first death is a panic shoot situation. I'm being pulled around by this guy. My life is in danger. I am a survivor of previous abuse by the hands of these soldiers. I have a gun. I'm going to shoot him. You know, it's just very sort of simplistic. I have to survive. I'm going to kill him. But by the end of that scene, we do have a survivor. And if we allow that survivor to go, he's going to report what happened. So our leader, Jed, comes up and he kills in cold blood for the first time with the group. Like that soldier can't defend himself. They could have taken him prisoner. They decide Jed decides to kill him instead. And there's a moment where you look at the soldier's face and he is fully human. There are no faceless villains,
Mm-hmm.
not really, in this movie. I mean, they have some goons that they kill, but you are meant to understand that these are people that are dying
Mm-hmm.
every time. And they have our main character, our hero character, look this guy in the face, see that he is human, see that he is scared, and still decide to kill him. And then we kind of sense the escalation from there. And obviously, they become more powerful after that moment because they have enough experience with it that it's kind of like we've done this before, we could do it again. But there is a sort of loss or sacrifice that happens in that moment where they are not just kids surviving in the woods anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They decide it's time to take on the fight and they
Mm-hmm.
become soldiers. And then we watch how that impacts the group. Most of them honestly do kind of okay with it, but then there's the guy who gets kind of extreme with it, where it's just about killing. There's the leader who's trying to figure out how to ethically and morally balance everything so that his people are okay. There's the brother who's worried about the toll that it's taking on the leader. You
Mm-hmm.
know, there are so many different layers that kind of go to, and the execution at the end of this tracker scene is another escalation, another kind of death. This is not just I have to kill you or my people are in danger. It's I'm going to kill you because of what you've done and also you are one of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of where the film draws a moral line because Jed can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Our sort of like compass character can't do it. It's the guy who's twisted and torn who
Yeah.
pulls the trigger. But it is kind of left up to the audience to decide if that's a good thing or not. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's decidedly immoral or it's decidedly against a good code of ethics. But it's also treated as possibly necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this truly open-ended conversation I think the film is having about like what it is like to be in battle and what it means to take another person's life in that situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I have seen enough movies that I can come up with ideas. Not like as in brutal torture methods. I just mean like depending on what kind of tracker that is, like when it passes, can we attach it
Mm-hmm.
to a different animal? Send them on a
Can
merry
we keep using
chase?
him as bait
Can we use them as
for these
bait?
guys?
Yeah, like
Like, yeah.
because it's tracking technology in 1984. You know the
I do think the big issue with that is they do kind of know where their base was, which means
yeah.
that they have to restart, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a big
Oh, for
deal.
sure. Yeah, like I mean, I don't know if we could keep them around unless we were keeping them as bait.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then I would be like, okay, so if we tie you to a tree and they come get you, they're probably gonna kill you. So you want to go
Hmm.
now, or do you want to go later?
And they would kill him, but not before torturing him and not
Yeah,
before probably getting him to reveal not necessarily secrets about the group, but
but
information that
something
could be used against the group,
for
right?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so.
Hmm.
I I don't know. See, I almost wish there was like a him talking more about like did you get a deal out of this, or at least an implied one or
Hmm.
a lied one? Like I don't
Hmm.
know. I guess
It is implied that his dad makes a deal with it because his dad is the one that
Mm,
turns him in.
that's true. Yeah. So I mean, that's rough. I mean, I know it's not easy. It's not. I'm not saying I know exactly what I would do, and I think the movie for the most part does it well. I think whoever that is, the character that dies who betrays them, I think he could have deserved a few more minutes of screen time. Not in the
Mm-hmm.
town, but we don't get a whole lot of pleading your case other than just
Mm-hmm.
begging to live, which sure, but like
Mm-hmm.
lay it out for me, give me the info.
Mm-hmm. Just let me run
Um
away. I won't come back.
yeah,
All
something,
that stuff.
something. Um After that, I do start getting a little, I don't even know. Halfway through the movie, I did start wondering what exactly is the end goal because they are also aren't
Mm-hmm.
discussing if there is one. Um
Mm-hmm.
and so I was curious as to where it is we were going. Real quick, that pilot character, he's interesting. I hate that we lose him. Don't love the weird relationship he seemed to have with Erica. That's strange.
That I think is it's intentionally one-sided
Hmm.
to
Yeah. He could have shown even
Mhm.
more disinterest, and I would have been more comfortable. Um.
I think there's a I don't know, I hesitate to say there's a realism to it because I don't want to necessarily normalize that kind of thing, but I do think like, you know, she's clearly looking for a source of comfort
Yeah.
and she feels like he is a source of comfort.
The
And they never cross any
infatuation.
inappropriate boundaries, you know. There's
Yeah.
there's some uncomfortable closeness, but they don't actually I don't think they even hug, you know.
I don't think so.
So there's a I think the movie handles it fairly well, even though writing it in is honestly kind of like a question mark, but
Yeah.
you can still kind of see how it happened, you know. Like this is
Sure.
again, we're not talking about morally great things here. We're talking about situations that happen in situations like
Yeah.
this. So
Fair enough. It's just definitely one of those things where it's like, hey, you didn't need that, but okay. Um. After the tracking, and honestly, after Pilot Man dies, I'm wondering what exactly is the point now.
they are trying to get to free America.
See, I did not get that impression because they seemed to be very much doing the work and kicking ass and doing all kinds of great shit and doing it over the course of months and
Mhm.
still communicating with the one dude in the lodge there for a little bit. And granted, the environment changes, so they're moving. But like whatever state they're in, which I did miss, clearly has mountains and deserty areas,
Colorado.
Colorado. So I don't know if we are moving toward anything or we're just going in one great big circle now that our base has been blown by the guy who betrayed us.
No, I do kind of agree. Like they make mention of heading for the border after everything falls apart, but they never actually say that's what they're going to do. And the next thing we know, they're on the move. And
Yeah.
so it's not really clear if they have a destination or not. I've always interpreted that as they're making a break for the border. They don't get
Mm,
very far. So
yeah.
they come back and decide to have a last stand.
I do not interpret it that way because they don't seem to have a goal to go anywhere until after shit, what's her name? Um Ferris Bueller's sister. After she dies, after they
Tony.
lose Tony, after they lose Tony and the
Mhm.
Bazooka Boy, then they decide you two get to go to wherever. We're gonna stay behind and cause a distraction. Do we need a distraction? It's not really made clear that we do, but we're gonna anyway. And then we make our way to the border because in the movie, like I understand, because the movie is making a point about the war perspective. I get that, but we don't start fighting anything until like a month and a half in, and we have a truck
Mhm.
and we have horses for a brief period of time, and we're told before we start fighting that we're only 40 miles from
Mhm.
free America, like, yeah, we're behind the lines. There's probably a line of fighting that we'd have to follow. But, like, the lines don't go the entirety of the border, especially in the States, when the States is basically the
Mhm.
size of a continent. Like, and 40 miles, that's nothing to sniff at, especially in the mountains. Walking, that's like 4 or 5 days. Driving with a truck, you could do in an afternoon. So
Well, all the roads would be closed. They
sure,
wouldn't get very
we didn't
far.
take a road to where we got. So I'm not super worried about the roads being closed or not, especially again when we have horses. Like, and it's
Mhm.
like, even if you want to say they walk, which would be hard and be rough, it doesn't ever seem to even be an option. We decide
Mhm.
to exist in the mountains for a brief period of time. We're told the free place is maybe 4 days walk away. Not easy,
Mhm.
but completely doable. Especially when we're then shown we survive in the mountains for like 4 months in the winter. I think they could have walked to
Mhm.
wherever it is they needed to go. Because, like, it's not, I don't think a character motivation is ever made super, super clear. Because as you talked about the escalation in the murdering, well, I don't even want to say that. I want to say war fighting. It's not intentional at first. They are pulled into it. So they didn't stay to free the town. They didn't stay to free someone specific. They didn't stay because that's the only place they could stay. They know where they can go. They have the means to go, but they just seem to not. But until there's only two left, and then they decide they can go. I just kind of wish it would have been a little more clear about it's super impossible to cross that mountain on foot. Oh, they really do. They got
Yeah.
tanks every 30 meters. There's jets
What they
everywhere.
really should have done. I mean, I think there's a little bit of a lot going on with all of that. So, like, the first thought, they don't go far from home at first because as teenagers, they're kind of hoping things calm down and they don't have to take care of the problem, right? Like their current plan is survive. And that doesn't necessarily have any additional elements to it. It's just we know this territory, we know this land, we know how to survive here, we should stay here because we can do it. Then there's an element of, well, freedom's not that far away. The one thing I can think of logically that would prevent them from just heading straight that direction, kind of two things actually. Families, which doesn't last very long because of their identities being known. And then the second thing is borders are probably pretty heavily patrolled. Right now, what's saving their life is the wilderness and the fact that they like nobody can get a mount like the army up into the mountain to scour for them effectively without completely abandoning camp at the town, right? So
Mm,
the soldiers just don't have the resources to smoke them out of the forest. So if they were to put themselves on the move and exit the mountains or the forest, they would be in danger, which is why the helicopters are so easily able to find them. It's just big open space. Um, but there is a certain, like everything else in this film, it could have used a little bit more bolstering from the script or from a scene or something. Like you were saying, the passes are closed at winter, or the borders are really heavily patrolled, which is something that our airmen could have told us. There's just a whole bunch of things you could have put in there that they don't, and
yeah.
I think it is a bit of a weakness. I think that strategy for the last two and why the idea is the last two can make it is that Jed and Matt are going to draw all of the resources to the town because the town is currently like the main goal of the military in this town is to get the Wolverines. And so if they put on a big show in town, the Wolverines are here, come get us, then maybe they draw resources from wherever the other
Mm,
two are going so the other two can get across a little better. I just don't know if that makes sense because 40 miles is kind of a long way to pull resources.
yeah. And I also, I felt a little old when the one guy's like, "Oh, Jed and I are spent." It's like, no, you're not. I know what you've been through is crazy, and I can't compare it. But like, don't do that. come on now.
Mhm.
You could you could you can find a life again. Like, so I the ending is wild, and of course it's a great fuck you to all of them. And I like that they take out the hunter, and I like to get a good few licks in. I don't like this weird little realistic war style redemption they give to that one antagonist.
You don't like Colonel Bella?
No, I don't like Colonel Bella
Colonel
because
Ernesto Bella.
no, it's too little, too late. You know, like when
Mm-hmm.
you're leading, you 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 landed in a town and your people started killing teachers and civilians, and like, oh, you don't like war? Ah, ah. Did someone twist your arm? Ah, what a fucking shame. Like, no, I don't give a fuck about you at all. Like, yeah, he lets them go while they're
Understand that
dying.
perspective,
Good for him.
but I think it's less to do with a redemption arc for him and more to do with driving home the point. I mean, I don't know if this movie really intends to do this. I think it must on some level, but I don't know if they realize how thoroughly they made a story that is anti-war. Like, not
Uh,
only do these teen gorillas lose track of what is good and healthy for themselves, not only do they kind of become spent, we also have a colonel in the military who has the power in this fight and does kind of technically win the war happening here in this town, but he doesn't have not that he doesn't have the taste for it, more so that it sucks the life out of him.
mm-hmm.
When he was fighting for a cause for his people, when he was a rebellion fighter, he was fighting for his home, which is a big point they make with the Wolverines.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting for our home. They're just fighting to conquer. And he feels the distinct difference between defending your home and taking someone else's land.
Mm,
And I think it really drives home the point that what you are doing not only hurts those you're doing it to, but also kind of hollows out yourself. That letter he writes,
yeah.
not only is it a little bit like dramatic, but he's driving home the point that like the good things in life are the things he was defending, not the fact that he was powerful in violence, right? He's like, I miss like being in love and being with you. I miss being able to just live our lives day to day. What I'm doing up here is emptiness and violence, and I'm not going to do it anymore. So it's not necessarily that I think it redeems him per se, because I still think he is a villain in this film, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a necessary perspective on this, like the theme of what war and violence does to a person, you know?
Yeah, and I can appreciate that. I interpret it still as a redemption because he doesn't die. I think
Mm.
it would almost be more tragic if we because we don't even see the perspective of our friend, our kiddo friend who is used as bait with the tracker. We get to see the perspective of this guy writing a letter to his wife, his internal monologue.
Interesting.
So
Mhm.
I think knowing that and then watching Jed kill him because he hesitates, illustrating that Jed is spent. You know, even a guy who
Mhm.
hesitates, he's just, which is I think is symmetry again to the first guy he kills is technically defenseless,
Mhm.
and the last guy
Mhm.
he kills is also like what war has done to both of them. But
Sure.
he let them go, and he's just like the war's not over. He's not gonna quit.
Mhm.
He's gonna go kill more people.
Oh
He's
no,
gonna
he
go
is
torture
quitting. He's going home.
after this war, right? Once this war is done, is what he says. So he's still
No,
gonna.
he says he's resigning, like
I
on
thought
the
he was.
spot, I'm
I
pretty sure.
I thought he said like after this is done, I will resign, so that there's no
I think he
more.
means the way I've always heard this is like after I finish writing this letter, I'm pretty sure is how
I
he
may have to watch that. I guess I
yeah.
thought I thought he said something along the lines of like after this rotation, after this tour, after this bout is done, then I'm quitting. If that was
I
the
would
part
I
where
don't
he
know if I'd
quits,
swear to
then
it, but I'm pretty sure it's like he's quitting on the spot.
if that is what it
Like he's
is,
written his resignation.
if that is what it
Mhm.
is, then I can come around on that. If it's not, and it's what I thought, and he's gonna still like tomorrow, he's gonna go kill more people.
Mhm.
Fuck him. I'd rather the
Yeah,
Jed
if he's
kill
put in
him.
his 2 weeks notice, that's not the same thing as
Yeah,
him being like, "I'm done, I'm calling it
yeah.
quits right now."
I'm
That's
intrigued.
fair.
I will have to rewatch that bit, because
Mhm.
I don't think he earns what I'm interpreting right now as that little bit of redemption because he let them
Well, and
go to
again,
die.
I do see what you're saying about seeing Jed kill him as the Colonel decides not to kill Jed. Like, that's really interesting. Um, and I think it does say a lot about the themes of what they're doing with the fighting and whatnot. I think the reason it is the way that it is because it's supposed to be kind of like this moment, like what they end up ending on, the point they really drive home is the ultimately, I think I'm going to use the word righteousness of a fight for your home.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Colonel sees in them what he was, and he recognizes
Mm,
that what they're doing is the moral high ground, and he
sure.
lets them have it, even
Yeah.
though they're not going to last much longer.
Mm. So I think you could still have all of that and Jed not care. Because
Yeah, I agree.
ask yourself, whatever, Bella, you were Jed, would you let that guy live? No. As a
Mhm.
revolutionary, no, you wouldn't. And I think that adds more to his sentiment in a way, for him to realize not only that what he's doing has left a bad taste in his mouth, but he is fully the bad guy, and that's where his role ends. And maybe that
I'm
makes
going
it
to
more
raise a
structurally again.
point.
Yeah, go on.
I'm not necessarily aligning myself with this view, but I do think it is an interesting counterpoint to what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like if the film ends on Jed taking the violent route, even when the Colonel doesn't, or really either of them taking the violent route, that maybe says that there is no solution and there is no peace. There is only constant retribution. Or do you think the moment requires them deciding not to shoot each other to indicate that it is only when we understand each other we can stop fighting each other?
I'm a tad confused. Um, I think the second point you said, if I understand it,
Hmm.
I don't think the point is justified by the kind of character that Bella has been, the actions that they have done. Like, because I think they're trying. If you wanted to play devil's advocate, they're wanting to put Jed and Bella face to face for a moment, right? I've killed the citizens of your town.
Hmm.
You've killed my men. We have both killed people that we know, like each other's friends and family. So we are now men of war, and I'll let you end on your terms. And I hate war, so I'm gonna go do my thing. We've reached an understanding. One side is invaders. One side is soldiers that are
Hmm.
proud and comfortable, assaulting people, doing who knows what torture wise, and everyone knows what to innocent women. Like, no, you don't. No, no. I'm a big ol' I get into hippy dippy shit with this kind of stuff. I'm a big old anti-war thing until you cross the line and you're the invader. Then they can tear you to shreds. I don't give a shit.
Hmm.
So, and then I need to rewatch again too.
Basically, your stance is all violence against invaders is justified violence.
I think meeting them where they're at is almost always justified. And I need to rewatch again. If Jed has somehow no longer holding his pistol because he's holding his brother, it doesn't make any sense. Like if he is holding it, I mean, it doesn't make any sense that he wouldn't shoot him because he just shot the hunter guy, whatever his name was. So, and I think we kind of cut from him shooting hunter guy to him carrying his brother. So if he drops the gun or no longer has it, I don't remember seeing that. I'm assuming that must happen
True.
because otherwise it is very movie structure for that moment we want for Jed to not turn around and blow that guy's head out, you know? Because, like,
Well, and I do think it is supposed to be like it's also supposed to be a moment of like he chooses his brother over the fight. Like he could still be fighting. Technically, he's dying. He knows that he's dying.
mm-hmm.
But instead of spending his last few minutes killing more people,
Mm,
he maybe drops the gun and carries his brother to the park, and
mm.
that's where his last moments are. And then
I
that turns the Colonel's moment into a moment where he protects that choice rather than
I
continuing to invade and conquer.
I can non-sassily get behind that point. And again, non-sassily. I also like the point though of knowing that man wants to quit and there not even being the moment between Jed and him. He turns the corner. We see the
He
audience, we
just
see the
leaves.
pause in the eyes, his eyes, and Jed just shoots him because War doesn't
Oh,
care.
that too. Yeah.
It's too late. It's too little, too late. Like the people you've killed don't
Yeah.
care that you want to quit now. You don't get to have that. You've already ruined so many lives. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think honestly, in a
Yeah.
way, I don't think there was a wrong way to do this scene, except
Mm-hmm.
maybe
That's
exactly
what
how
I'm
they did
coming
it.
to as
I
well.
think they could have tweaked it into any one of these ways. Because if we could have seen
Mm-hmm.
explicitly that Jed dropped the gun
He
to
drops.
know he
Yeah.
doesn't have it, because like I like that he's
Mm-hmm.
choosing not to fight. I don't fully believe that he still wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
try to defend himself because he's clearly. It's not an accident that they go to the park. He's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
He has in his mind like this is where
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna end, and
Mm-hmm.
I would still defend myself from some, shitty little soldier who's going to try to get in the way of me in that. If I could, if I just
Absolutely.
have a
Yeah.
handheld gun. He doesn't have he didn't have a big shotgun. He didn't have the
But like
bazooka.
narratively, and not this is an argument against your point, it just
Yeah.
to add to your point, narratively, it hits a lot harder if he has to put down the gun to carry his brother, right? Like
Yeah.
that's him actively making a
Yes.
choice about what's
Yes.
going
And since
on.
the last gun we saw him hold is his pistol, which he could absolutely still have while holding his brother, just tweak it a bit, and I think it's fine. Every other way we've discussed, I think there is a way for it to absolutely work. Because I understand what they're trying to do with Bella. I just don't. I don't feel that he has earned that piece because of all the
Mm-hmm.
characters that we spend time with in this movie. He's the only one that seems to have potential to go out in his life and find peace, but not these
True.
characters. And I
Mm-hmm.
take issue with that just a bit, just a bit. Because honestly, again, I couldn't tell you who the characters are that get away, except for Erica.
Yeah. Well, it's Erica,
Yeah,
but
but I don't know
I
who the
don't
other
know
one is.
which of the guys
No,
makes it out with her.
couldn't tell you. I'm gonna assume it's the one that drank the deer blood. But no, he's supposed to be the gun
No,
ho
because that's the guy
one.
who goes crazy and he gets shot from the copter. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I thought Bazooka Guy and the guy who's gun ho were two different characters.
I don't think so. I think they're the same guy. He's
Is it?
wearing that Wolverine's hat for
Oh,
most of the film.
okay. Couldn't
It,
tell you.
that's a big knockdown in my opinion of this movie. We have a lot of
Yeah.
characters. You have a lot of time to explore these characters, so much so that you do
Yes.
create clear character arcs, but
Yes.
you don't do good at
Yeah.
identifying said
I was
characters.
waiting. I
Give them a
was.
signature piece of
Mhm.
clothing. That's all you
Yes.
gotta do.
Put them in all in the same
And it
jacket
was,
that they got from the store.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I mean, like even Erica gets like that sort of like beret that she wears as sort of
yeah.
a signature item,
Uh huh.
but she's one of the two girls who have very different colored hair. So like
Yep.
we're able to figure that out
Uh huh.
most of the time. It's the
I
guys that are
Yeah.
impossible to
I
tell.
was waiting for Lord of the Flies style stuff that I wouldn't understand because I've not seen or read Lord of the Flies, where it's like, okay, we've got a football player, we have a president of the student body, like
Mhm.
everyone's gonna be in that not necessarily bad but cliche. Each one of these kids has a perspective that we're gonna use in this war, and that's gonna help us distinguish each of them. No, not at all.
Mhm.
They don't even,
Mhm.
I don't think, adequately use the idea that they're football players using the strategy against the soldiers. Like, it's just, you could,
Yeah.
also because it's the 80s, this is just a group of grown men fighting another group of grown men, but we're told one group
Mhm.
of grown men are children. Um,
Mhm.
so those are nitpicks, though.
I don't know. I think other than Jed, who is a high school graduate, I don't think any of them look that old.
They don't look old, but I think they're probably all in their early 20s.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's
Yeah.
just normal. Like even
Right.
today, that's normal
Yeah, yeah,
for
yeah. No,
people
it's
in their
not.
20s to play teenagers.
I jest. As we've
Mhm.
talked, I have grown to appreciate the movie a little bit more. It's not one I think I'll just put on to watch again though. It's heavy and
Yeah.
it's in some ways aimless, even though like there is a goal because it's war, but it's war where one side seemingly has the option to leave, which is not something you
Mhm.
get in war. So there's a few things I would love. I might have to research it. There's probably something I missed. You know, it's because I've only seen it the one time.
I think not that you necessarily have to turn around and watch it again, but I do think it's worth a rewatch when you have like the space and time for it. Just because I do think it's one of those things that kind of gets richer on a repeat. Even though you do, I think, notice the mistakes a little bit more on a
Mm,
rewatch, you also kind of like I have never watched this movie and not been in the moment
mm,
with the movie.
mm,
Like I'm constantly feeling the scene. I'm understanding the sort of tensions happening. Even if there is some confusion around who is who, I'm still like invested at the current threat of the moment for the characters. It's I think it's something that is rewatchable. I wouldn't necessarily say this is the best movie of all time. And
wow, yeah.
it's interesting because it's my dad's opinion that the sequel actually improves upon this film.
There's a
And I think
sequel?
that's a sorry, sequel's wrong. They redo it in
Reboot. Yeah,
2012
yeah,
with Chris Hemsworth. Yeah. And they change a couple things to make it more timely, like North Korea is the bad
yeah. Uh
guy.
huh.
And like they use a cyber EMP attack sort of thing to as the first waves. Like there are multiple little changes. Chris Hemsworth's character is like Jed Eckert,
Jed.
but he's like yeah, he's a ex or no, he's a current Marine. He's just home on leave for a bit. So
Mm.
like they do some things that are significantly different. But I hesitate to say that that one is better, even though the story's a bit tighter, because I think it leans a bit propaganda. And I really
Man.
love that this one doesn't. So, I
Um.
mean, there's an element of Love America in it, but I think it's homeland, right?
Yeah.
And in the 2012 movie,
A
they
little
it's
more
kind of like
America.
the righteous fight,
Uh huh.
like rather than dealing with the psychological impacts of being teenagers in this situation, it's the classic rebel story. We're
Mm.
American exceptionalism. We're great. They
Oh, I
lose a few people
see.
along the way, but it's kind of like the movie ends on a "We are America, we will conquer"
Uh.
vibe, which is completely different
Uh huh. For
than the
sure.
way this story ends.
Yeah.
So I don't like the
Yeah.
direction that
I
movie
love
takes
then
with
that the
it.
star of that movie is Australian, just to make it
Yeah,
not
that's funny.
quite land. So that's okay.
Mhm.
I would say tentatively because I can't appreciate how well they made the film and the point they're trying to make. And they did all of this like on location, it looks like. I mean, whether or not that's a
Mhm.
Colorado, like they're in the woods, they're in the desert, they're in the mountains,
Mhm.
they're doing stuff, which is really cool and I can appreciate that. I would give it a whale, but it's a tentative whale just because like you said, I like this it's not super propaganda-y. There's no glory
Mhm.
in any of this, which I appreciate
Mhm.
because the Rambo movies try to make a point. They try to make commentary about the soldiers in Vietnam, and it's so preachy. It's so
Mhm.
propaganda-y, and it's so I am very badass. This teeters, but it doesn't ever
Mhm.
go into that fully. And I appreciate that.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like it is mm, it, it's not a flawless film by any means, but it has a unique combination of storytelling elements that I don't get from any other story. And I do feel like it's it says something about like I guess America in war, right? And
Mm,
not just sort of a clinical analysis of America in war, but sort of a let's just put you in it kind
mm,
of thing. And that's what stories are about. Stories are about putting you in these hypothetical situations so that you can either empathize more with the people who are in those situations or so you can think about what you would do in those situations to sort of like either improve your understanding of yourself or to plan for the future. And this, I think, does that in a way for Americans that I've not seen any other film do. And I think it does it in a pretty honest way, even if there are some 80s action film moments in it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, maybe because of the nostalgia, but also for all the things I just mentioned, this is solidly a whale. I
Yeah,
never dislike watching this film. I'm always in for the whole thing.
it's fair. That's totally fair. And we were at our time. We just hit an hour. That was good. I was a little worried I wouldn't have enough to talk
Perfect.
about, but no, I good stuff.
I mean, there were some more quality things to
Oh,
mention too, just
oh,
like the overacting in Spanish was really funny.
little bit, little bit. I just now remembered the new thing we're trying to do, for our episodes moving forward. Would you
Oh,
recommend
right.
to a friend? Having seen this only once, I would say yes. I would recommend as maybe required watching for if you really want to get into the '80s movies because it seems to be a good um I don't even know if the right word would be. I don't want to say pillar, but I can understand why it's a
The cult
notable.
classic.
Yeah, it's a classic '80s
Mm-hmm.
movie. I can see that even only seeing it once. I would not say this is a fun put it on Friday night movie. Like you need to go into this with intention, and I think it's
Yes.
you get a
Yeah,
lot
I
out of it.
agree. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend, but I always recommend with sort of a note about like this is a maybe not a serious watch, but like you
It's
go in with the mindset of like this is not
it's
fun
heavy.
movie flick. This
Yeah.
is yeah, like people talk about serious things or war things, they talk about invasion, and I'm like, this is gonna sound wild, but you should watch this 80s movie called Red Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me,
Mm-hmm.
it's relevant to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's how I recommend it more often than not.
Yeah. Fair. Movie. I'm all mixed up. Movie Well Marathon recommends. Approved. There we go. I got
We
there.
recommend.
There's like, yeah, we recommend. And that's us for tonight. So, yay. What's next? I don't
And that's
recall.
us. Um, I don't know. I've been really bad at keeping these straight. I think it's Goonies, but Goonies felt like it
Goonies.
was first this time, so I'm gonna double check before we say for sure. Let's see.
Big
It
ol'
is Goonies. Well, no,
Breakfast
Breakfast
Club.
Club,
Awesome.
then Goonies. See,
Awesome.
if
Cool.
Goonies felt like it the second one this entire time, even though it was ET and then it was Red Dawn and then it was
Yeah.
Breakfast Club. So Breakfast Club first,
Cool.
then Goonies.
Awesome. That'll be exciting. All right. That's us. Bye.
Bye.